Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, disagreements continue amongst politicians over the best way of facilitating trade with Europe post-Brexit. The preferred method for Brexiteers is to use technology to track goods and charge the correct tariffs, a solution known as maximum facilitation, or MaxFac for short. However, depending on who you ask, you'll get a different figure for how much that solution will cost UK businesses. Well, the boss of HMRC, John Thompson, has caused consternation amongst those who favour MaxFac by saying it will cost businesses around 5% of the £400 billion worth of trade the UK does with the EU, or around 20 billion. But he says that's the same cost that would result from a no-deal Brexit. Now, he's come up with this figure using a number of reports. One of those is a study done by the accountants KPMG on the cost of business in Holland. Well, in Parliament yesterday, the Conservative MP, Charlie Elphicke, questioned the HMRC boss, John Thompson, about the cost in that report being much lower than the figure that he quoted.
I was also looking at the KPMG report that you referenced for the Dutch government. Yep. Table 1 there also shows 1% of costs as well. Why is it that that report doesn't seems to take a 1% figure rather than a 5% figure?
Well, if you've got it in front of you, it shows
I have.
You may have.
Yeah,
it shows a wide range all the way up to 1.9%. Depending
well, for
on
meat, it's 0.7 to 1.9. For cut flours, 0.8 to 1.3. For paints, 0.4 to 0.6. Communication equipment, 0.4 to 0.7.
So, what does that KPMG report actually say? Let's talk to the person who wrote it. Leon Cantars is a partner in trade and customs at KPMG in the Netherlands. Morning, Leon.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. So, we've got this dispute over these figures. The boss of HMRC says it will cost around 5% of the trade that we do with the European Union. The MP there saying it was much less than that. So what does your report actually say? What will the cost be according to your analysis?
So, we did this before on behalf of our Ministry of Economic Affairs, and they asked us specifically to look at non-tariff barriers of, let me say, meat, cut flowers, paints, communication equipment, fire extinguishers and accountancy services. These were, let me say, selected by our government. And they wanted to know what the non-tariff barriers would be. So that would be the cost relating to exporting and importing of goods, but also on elements like CE marketing, veterinarian inspections for meat, phytosanitarian inspections for vegetables and fruits, but also in the part of the chemical sector, REACH. And what we actually did is we calculated, based on interviews with the various companies in this area, what the cost could be. And we came up that it would cost approximately in the Netherlands around between 390 and, let me say, 625 million euros on additional costs. That has nothing to do with the tariffs, because the tariffs were not included. It's just formality costs to more or less ship and bring goods from the Netherlands to the UK or vice versa.
So are they right to use this figure at all when we're talking about this MaxFac solution?
No, actually this figure shows only in these sectors. So you see a big deviation if you look to our, let me say, analysis on communication equipment. We see a minimum percentage of 0.4 and 0.7, while if we are in the meat sector, it can end up to 1.9. And that has, for instance, to do with the fact that you need veterinarian inspections, you need veterinarian doctors to prove and to analyze the meat which is exported. So these costs are much higher than, for instance, the cost in relation to communication equipment.
So, just to make it clear, this survey, this report that you put together, was focused on the effects on Dutch companies only, and
Surely.
seems to revolve around perishable goods. Does that mean that perishable goods aren't inspected in the EU at the moment?
If you trade at this moment the same goods between the Netherlands and the UK, then it's only an intra-community supply for VAT, and that's it. And that will be replaced with a number of formalities. And that's the difference in cost between today, business as usual, and the cost after Brexit. And our report was not based, of course, on a MaxFac situation, but was based on the WTO level.
Leon, were you surprised when you saw your report being discussed on the committee yesterday?
No, actually not, because this report was also discussed in January in our, let me say, House of Commons, and was actually one of the elements which has led to the hire of 930 customs people in the Netherlands. And then 140 additional, and we identified also 140 additional inspectors for phytosanitarian and veterinarian inspections. So I'm not quite surprised that in other governments would also be discussed, because the Dutch government has already started and actually hired already people to be prepared for Brexit on March 29.
And what other moves are you making to prepare for Brexit? Are you finding Dutch companies are trying to avoid doing trade with the UK? Or is it inevitable that they have to?
No, definitely not, because we are a big alliance with the UK. We belong, let me say, our economy is depending on for a substantial amount on trade with the UK. The only thing what we do at the moment with our clients and relations, and quite often we even do that with government, is to more or less start people getting prepared, because transition phase may have led to a situation to say, okay, we have another 2 years or 1 year and 9 months until the January 1, 2021. And but we say sometimes you need to start now to be prepared on January 1, 2021. So that's what we do now, and we do that by saying start and doing an analysis as if there was a Brexit. So simulate Brexit, and you could do that, for instance, by using your volumes and your data of, let me say, 2017, and project that on a Brexit situation. Then at least you know what it would have cost you if in 2017 there was a Brexit. And you can use these numbers, and we have a tool for doing that. So that way you can easily come up with a number, and that makes it much more comfortable to speak to your CFO to say we need these transformations, because otherwise it could cost us this and this amount. So
Leon?
that's the number one preparedness which we do. And the second one is, if you rely, for instance, for a substantial part on UK business, either for importing or exporting, then also look to alternative markets, because if your company would be at threat due to Brexit, then start to anticipate on that now, or start to prepare. It's one way or the other, or doing both is even best in some cases.
Leon, we'll have to leave it there, but many thanks for joining us this morning there. Leon Kantars, Partner in Trade and Customs at KPMG in the Netherlands.
With another EU summit in June, we can expect the speculation about the UK's future relationship with the European Union to intensify once again. Will we be in or out or near the single market in the end, or the customs union, or the European Economic Area? And how will we avoid checks on the Irish border if we don't stay in any of those bodies? Well, Norway isn't in the customs union, but shares a border with Sweden, which is. So our Europe correspondent Kevin Connolly travelled to the border between the two countries to see if it's really possible to manage a frontier with little or no regulation.
We are driving out of Oslo towards Norway's border with Sweden, all glittering fjords and flourishing forests. And if you're wondering what happened to your record collection from the 1970s, oh, it's alive and well and living on Norwegian radio. point to remember, of course, here is that in EU terms, Norway is not part of the Union. So when you reach the frontier, there's a customs post with a flag and an official in uniform. OK, so approaching the Ørje Norwegian toll station now. Find the barrier down, the border's closed, the customs officer's waiting for us. With a smile. No, not taking pictures, just recording.
Okay.
We can go?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So that added 8 seconds to our journey, I would guess, all very friendly. No question of searching the car, and we are on our way again. Hi there, we're looking for Hakon.
Håkon, okay.
How did you say his name?
Håkon.
Håkon. Okay. We're here to find out just how light you can make your border arrangements when you're close to the EU, but not in it, as the UK itself will soon be. At the moment, every truck driver that comes into Norway from the EU through Sweden has to stop and get his papers processed.
He's coming from Lithuania, and he has an export from that country, and this is the Norwegian import declaration.
And what's he carrying?
Brackets, it says.
So metal goods for the construction industry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carries.
So you said bracket, it makes it sound like he's
Yes.
carrying
Yeah.
punctuation marks.
Yeah.
But, and how long has this gentleman spent here? Obviously, he's now spent more time here because of me than than he would otherwise have spent. So
It's 2-3 minutes, I think. Yeah.
it doesn't take much time, but it's certainly not no time at all. And Customs Officer Torolstrand Schackman says a proportion of goods traffic is also passed through a scanner, a sort of truck-sized X-ray machine.
I mean, before we had the scanner, we had to take the truck in and unload everything, and that can take quite a long time, many hours with many officers. Now, you save a lot of time, actually, not only for the officers carrying out the work, but also for the trucks.
The good news is that a technology-based light touch system is coming here. Pretty much the MaxFac option being considered by the British government. Paperwork uploaded in advance. Number plate recognition cameras on the border. Håkon Krøe is the boss on the Norwegian side of this crossing.
We have to get the papers. It comes in the computer system.
Right.
And if we think everything is okay, it will come a green light and the barrier go up.
So it'll just be like going through a traffic light?
Yes.
The bad news is it's already 3 years overdue, and it's not proving cheap, even for the wealthy Scandinavians.
They got very expensive, and the leader of the team, he stopped it for a while. 1.5 years ago, there comes a new leader, and he started again.
When the system, the new system, the express system is working, will it be like there is no border here for most drivers?
The companies which are in this system, they have to come on the system. And I don't think everyone will get to the system. So it will still be a border, still be someone which have to stop.
This is, of course, just a postcard from a customs post. No one wanted to talk directly about Brexit, which is just the subject of sympathetic muttering. They will point out, though, that Sweden and Norway are as close historically as the UK and Ireland, and that there is, very much, a border here. Only to be expected, they argue, if you choose, as Norwegians have chosen, to not be part of the Union.
Kevin Connolly reporting.